Well, hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. We're back, season 3. We're going to get it underway tonight. Johnny Tobin, Tom Crotty, and I nearly forgot your second name, Tom, it's not on the screen, and James Blanchfield are back with us for the start of season 3. Johnny Tobin will be sticking with us through the World Cup like that, but due to other commitments, Johnny, you'll be sort of stepping out of the podcast after a couple of weeks, but it's great to have you the last 2 seasons and all that, and of course for all the World Cup chat and everything coming up as well, so you'll be missed.
I'm sure.
Oh. Absolutely, your internet's breaking up a bit there, Johnny. We'll go again.
They want to get really early. Yeah, they want to get really early.
It's gone. That's it. It's gone.
So for those listening to the podcast, Johnny's internet connection just dropped out just as we asked him the question. That happened a lot last year as well, so pick up where we left off. I was going to talk about Tullow if he comes back on there, but sure, James, we'll start with you. You have a big adjustment this year. We're going to talk club stuff first. We're going to talk Carlow, Kilkenny, Tullow, bit of SETU news, and then we're going to talk about the World Cup. We can't ignore that. Ireland playing Romania at the weekend. We'll wait for Johnny to come back on as well. But James, there he is now. There you are.
The goddamn ballon internet.
There you are, just gone now. Johnny, we're going to just move it around there as well. We thought you were gone there for a bit. We're going to start with James. We just asked him.
Let him ramble on there for 40 minutes.
A big readjustment, James. A whole different way of thinking. Down a division into 1B. You're in with Carlow. I'd say there's a lot of head scratching and everything going on at the club. A bit of a change, and
Stephen, adjustment is a good way of putting it. I think it kind of it's a lot of good things happening, and Johnny's going to have, tell me you're getting to do this and you're getting to do that and whatnot. But there's a lot of good things happening. But I think talking to people around the club, there's a bit of excitement again, like there is every year. It's easy to look and say, yeah, we've 10 players gone off the Towns Cup squad from last year. 10 players have left the club. Be it people retired or Rory McInerney's retired. Dame O'Leahy's gone home to Australia. Ewan Lewis has gone home to Wales. Abel has gone back to Spain. Joe Moynihan's retired. Rory McInerney's retired. Shane O'Riordan just announced in the last few weeks that he's heading off to Dubai for 2 years. It's going to be a huge loss. So, but the other side of it is there's players coming in as well. Conan Dunn has come back to the club. It's probably the worst kept secret in the world there towards the end of last season. Conan's coming back after 3 years with Lansdowne and a year at Blackrock, where he's been playing AIL. So Conan will be a big inclusion. There's a chap come to Kilkenny from, I think, is he coming from Garryowen or Highfield? He's kind of a half-back. He's working for Avonmore, so he's a really good addition. Played under 20s for Munster there a number of years ago as well. So despite players leaving, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of players coming in. But I think when you talk about readjustment, Stephen, one of the things that we've done is we've actually looked at the coaching setup in the club in a big way. Steve Ashmore is back on board this year as senior coach. Stephen Talbot is down from Talbot is down from Athy as assistant coach. Paddy O'Driscoll, who would have been involved with the club many years ago and involved with Kilkenny College, and he was an 86 winner with us in 1986 at out half. He's in as skills coach. So we've kind of taken an approach in the club this year that there's an awful lot of room for improvement and room amongst the senior playing cohort for kind of improvement of a lot of skills. So that's what Paddy is in working on. But across the club, there's a lot of good things happening as well. But I think the primary objective for our first 15 this year is to kind of integrate new players and get, just Tobin's disappeared there. And you're not having a good day, but integrate new players. And the biggest thing of all for the club is to integrate the young guys that have come up from under 18s into adult rugby this year. So I think there's 5 of the 18s have come up. I have their names jotted down here. You have Donald Keeley, he's a hooker. He was Leinster Youths last year. He's coming up now. Joe Murray, Barry Daly and Alex Reynolds all stepping up to adult rugby. So that's what it's about for us. Women's are absolutely flying it. I have to hand it to the women's team. I need to go back to the men's team on the coaching side as well. we realised that there was a gap on the S&C side. So Mickey Comerford, who has been involved with the Kilkenny Hurlers for the last 3 or 4 years as their S&C coach, is in now, and you can see the players buying into Mickey's level of professionalism and what he does and what he brings. They all have their apps, they all have their personalised coaching programs and all that he's doing with them. You know, you go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights, and all the players are there in their rotas, in their groups, doing their programs. So, you know, I mean, I won't say for our first 15 that it's going to be a spring straight back up to 1A. Johnny and Tom know how difficult Division 1B is to win. Wicklow are testament to that as well. But you know, we have to set some target for ourselves, and I suppose that's the target that's going to be set. Women, as I was getting onto them, the level of commitment that the girls have shown over the summer, they didn't stop training from last season. They actually continued through the whole summer, which can be a bad thing as well, but they have recognised as well, the club have recognised that the women's team need more coaches. So Gary Doyle is in now, kind of a senior coach working under and with Paddy Moss. Gary was the under-18 coach for the last number of years. So he stepped down from the 18s to be moved into the women's team. Victor Harper is in as an assistant coach. Joe Moynihan is there as a forwards coach. Aoife Kelly, who has been their stalwart for the women's team, is in a players coach role. So, you know, the objective of the club and what we're trying to do at the moment is, rather than kind of looking at particular players and trying to improve the individual, we're looking at trying to improve the whole coaching structure across the club. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And then, like, Johnny will probably know more about the two guys I'm going to talk about next in Daniel Ring and Hugh Greeny. Johnny's been talking about them a long time, two lads. Hugh played Leinster Youths at hooker this year, and Daniel was in an Irish under-18 development squad. So they're two guys that we're, as a club, we're holding a lot of hope for the future in. Whether or not we can hold on to them in the short or long term is the question, but we're excited about those guys coming through as well. So look, at all in all, it's been a good close season. A lot of changes on the committee, as Johnny alluded there before we went on as well. Mike Hannigan is in as president. Dave Matthews has stepped back into a new role around fundraising and sponsorship, and no better man for it. Mick will be a different sort of president to Dave. He will be he still will be a people's president, but he's a different character to Dave, and kind of have to hand it to Dave for the work he did for the club over the last four seasons that he was there. Mary Louise Brody, she's Hugh Corkery's mum. She's in as secretary. So a lot of change, and look, I think it's important to keep fresh faces coming in, to keep things fresh, and new ways of thinking. And look, we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to, a lot of people the other day were saying, geez, we have some terrible trips this year. We have to go to Longford and Dundalk and these places. I said, yeah, but equally we're going to Carlow and Athy, so stop complaining. You have to take the good with the bad. And looking forward to actually having kind of coming across Carlow in the league as well this year. So it's going to be an interesting year. However it pans out, look, we can't predict it, but we've Gorey away this weekend in the Southeast League, so there'll be a lot of lads getting opportunities in that game that might have gotten opportunities at J1 level in the past.
Good stuff, James. Good to hear that. Lots going on down there. Busy summer, and a lot of positivity there as well. And like you said, you spotted a couple of problems or issues and solved them. And now to see how it pans out over the season. And like you said, you don't have all those trips to Dublin now this year, I suppose, as well. So.
Well, this is it. I think you often hear me talk about Division 1A, how kind of unsustainable Division 1A is that there's, will I say teams splashing the cash? I allowed to say that, but they are splashing cash. You look at what Gorey did last year. They competed in Division 1A with a team that they put together themselves without firing the money around. So teams can compete once they get things right. But from our perspective, we're looking forward to being down probably on more of a level playing field in 1B,
Absolutely. Johnny, Tullow, line drawn in the sand now. Last season was last season. Time to look forward to this season. But you have a whole new landscape to look forward to now as well. James has just come down from that division. You know how competitive it is in 1A. What's going on in Tullow at the moment to try and, suppose, get ready for the bit of a step up?
Yeah, well, they're training fairly hard. I believe I was speaking to Morris the other day. There's a lot of stuff, good stuff going on, training wise. The new Fijian player came in there last week or the week before or something. So there's lots of good stuff going on around there. Sean is playing in the back line. Tugdow against Lansdowne 2 weeks ago. They played Lansdowne J1s and lost 14-8 in the Colm O'Shea Cup, so that wasn't a bad outing. Dara Murphy, actually, from Tullow, is talking back out for Lansdowne again. Just change of work for him this year. Suits him to be in Dublin. He's going into the prison service, so he's following his mum and dad's career there. So it just suited him to stay playing in Dublin where he's going to be stationed. So he was captain, actually. The Lansdowne team got a few digs, a few fair shots as well, but it was a good old game to be at now, in fairness. And they're plugging away there. I don't think they're meant to have a friendly this weekend, but I don't think it's going ahead. Lack of pitches. There's so many youth teams out this weekend in Tullow, and everyone wants to play early as well.
For a pitch in Kilkenny, I think, actually, for that.
Yeah, they asked me for college as well, but it wasn't feasible. So there's so many youth games going on. Everyone wants to be off before 1:30, 2 o'clock to get home and watch the hurling game. So it's just a bad weekend for a friendly, but seems to be going well out there. Lots of good progressive things going on. They're on with putting in a new gym, and they've only upgraded the gym recently, but it's not big enough. So trying to put in a new gym there. They're doing up the car park again. More work going on there. More work going on the 2 grass pitches up the top. And Tom is out there a bit, so he'd see it more than I would. They're doing a good bit of work. So hopefully it goes well for him this year. Just commitment wise for me, I won't be involved a whole lot, so I won't be out there as much. Obviously, Paddy Brown will be taking over for me in a few weeks' time here, but hopefully it goes well for him this year, and I wish him all the best with the 1A trip, because it's no easy feat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Johnny, just from a club and a bar point of view and all that sort of stuff, Saturday rugby, how much of a change is that for a club? In terms of
we felt the pinch back in I think it was 14. We went up and the bar was ruined nearly, but I don't think now it'll be. I think lads now that are playing for Tullow are a little bit different in work situations than what they were back then. There was a lot of farmers back then, but there's not so many farmers there now, and lads will probably enjoy the Sunday off to go away with chaps and stuff. So I don't think it'll be affected as much. I know in 1A that generally play the games early, but if you got a couple of local teams like a Gorey and play them at 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening, you'd suit your bar, so things like that can work in their favour too. But look, it all depends what the brand of rugby you're playing. You're playing a good brand of rugby, there's going to be people out there. You're winning, there's going to be people out there watching your game. So then obviously the Sean O'Brien factor, when he togs out, everyone's going to go on to watch him play and stuff. So he'll draw a crowd everywhere he goes, no matter when it's the first or the 10th game he plays, he'll draw a crowd.
When you say he's going into the backs, Johnny, kind of that suggests.
Well, he was in them against Lansdowne anyway.
Yeah, and I kind of look at that suggests to me that it's not going to be a link-up kind of centre partnership. Like Sean wouldn't be renowned for his ability to throw a pass. Is he like, having watched you last year and the way that your centres played, he played ball around there. Would you not see that as a little bit of a...
Yeah, look, I don't know now. He just played the centre against Lansdowne. To be honest with you, I think the centre against Lansdowne was more of an opportunity to challenge another Tullow lad, because Darragh was playing 12 for Lansdowne. So I'd say it was a battle of the giants maybe, but I don't know. Maybe Sean will play more in the back row. I'd imagine so. I'd agree with you. The backs that Tullow have at the minute, I think he'd kind of slow down the back line. But look, he'd question that. He'd say he has the ability to throw past the same as any young lad in the back line. I wouldn't see that, but look, that's what you're going to go with. Obviously, an international rugby player should be well able to hang it in junior 1A. So
sister, Alex, if Alex is watching this, don't come looking for me after speaking poorly to your brother and beat me up.
Well, I'm going to tell her when she asked me. You brought it out. I just agreed. No, I'd say he'd be able to hang it in the centre for God's sake, he's a Lions international player. He should be a junior 1A, even senior 2B and 2C. He should be able to hang it at that level, But look, I don't know. It's going to go well for them. There's lots of good young lads coming in there. Fionn Hickey and these lads are hanging around for a year to play in Tullow for another year. So that's a great boost. Fionn was Leinster 19s this year. He'll be a huge addition. The likes of young Conor Kelly, they're coming up from the 18s. Dara Foley's nephew. He's just good athletes. A lot of good young athletes coming up. So hopefully they go well.
Absolutely. Johnny, we're going to catch up with you on SETU and college rugby after we catch up with Tom. You were going to say something there?
No. Shoot away.
I know it. Tom Crotty, how's Carlow getting on?
Well, we're still there. We've a lot of changes coming in because we finished up last season and Jeff and Corey moved on. Both of them had other commitments, and Corey wanted to take a step back from club coaching. So the two boys have moved on, and we have two new coaches. Both have played for Carlow. One is born and bred Carlow. That's Dave Barron. Dave played scrum half with Carlow and played AIL with Carlow, and then played AIL in Bective. So coached extremely successful 18s team with me, and coached in college, Johnny Duncan College. So like Dave is an asset. He's a local lad. There's real enthusiasm. Dave's the head coach, and we've Joe Bulmer in. Joe played rugby for years in Carlow and played with Enniscorthy and was a part of the coaching team that gave him the Towns Cup when the boys took over the coaching a couple of years ago, and they won their first Towns Cup in a long time. So Joe is absolutely fanatically Carlow. He loved it when he was there, and you can see his enthusiasm that he's bringing to the players. Look, we lost a couple of players, have moved on. Some of just job wise have moved to Dublin and back to Wexford and things like that. So we have a couple of young lads back in. Ty Gronin, which is Tyga's in college in Carlow, so Tyga's committed to us for the year, which is great because we badly needed a front row players, as any club does. So it was great news when the Leaving Cert result comes out that the Tyga was going to be.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Even better for you, Johnny. The Tigers gone into the college, so we also then have young lads. A couple of young fellas came up from the 18s. We had our first game. We played Gorey a couple of weeks ago and had a massive win, a really good win at home against Gorey. So we had a couple of first caps there with Noah Cope playing at scrum half. Noah played for Southeast and was up with the Leinster Under 18s panel as well. So it's great to see youth, and there's a few more. No, we haven't really tied down a couple of young fellas because they're going to college in Dublin and whatever else, and they're playing football at the moment. So we're kind of just letting them finish out their football season, and we'll see whether they get a commitment from them later on. But like we've a good bunch of lads back training. Football's probably hit us a little bit harder this year. With the backs, we're kind of struggling for backs. Most of them are, as I say, are playing football. But we new director of rugby, Bob Keady, has taken over as director of rugby. Bob was at Buccaneers and Tullamore. He's been in both those clubs for a number of years, but he's married to a Carlow girl now and came into the club. He's only 2 years now, so he's an awful lot of knowledge, an awful lot of. He's well used to the system, the Leinster system, and knows so many people. So he's an asset. Derek Cope has stepped down as director of rugby, but and after doing a phenomenal job through a lot of tough years there himself. But Derek has taken on the job as coach and coordinator in the club. So we're still looking for new coaches from minis upwards.
Can I stop you there, Tom? Why do you say for your sins now?
Are you after taking that job?
I'm after taking that job in Kilkenny.
That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, because well, James, you know as well as I look. I think I think I can say it for all three here. Finding coaches and getting people to volunteer to coach is not easy anymore.
No.
But it's such a reward. I think people just need to. I think we've had like there's a couple of first players have come in and helped out with 16, came back. They started off with the 14s and then they kind of moved up with that team, and they're absolutely loving it. I see John Lyons is doing a coaching course at the weekend, because he's just taken to it, and I think if more people tried it out, they'd realise the reward that you get, and even starting off with youths and minis and just working your way up along the line. You get such a reward. Like even this year.
If anyone can do it in Carlow, I'd say it's Derek Cope because he's respected by everybody,
Well, absolutely, but it's not easy to go try and convince somebody to come out and give their time, and they may not have children involved, and that's you know, it's hard. It's hard to find parents that have played rugby, and it's not all about those playing rugby either. I mean, we're looking for coaches who, and it's the same in Tullow, and I presume it's the same in Kilkenny. You're looking for people who are enthusiastic and willing to learn, and the main things that they bring a bit of spirit and enjoyment to kids coaching. So, like we're around the same as Kilkenny. Our players have had their skill levels have been increased with the coaching that they've had over the last number of years. Our senior players, and you can see the difference in what they're taking on this season. You can see that there's players there I thought never would have the skills that they have, and you can see their growth. But the club, as a club, we're stepping in back a little bit to kind of go forward, and again to look at developing from the youth upwards and trying to bring through more players from the 18s into. And they don't have to be the best player. You just want a continuous line of players, Carlow players, feeding into the senior system. They don't all have to play first. You need seconds players, you need thirds players, you need lads there week in, week out. You know, because there's nothing worse to come up and you only have 20 or 22 lads training. Like last year, we had up to one of the training sessions. We had 40 players training, and that means that coaches can play one team off another. There's so much they can do when you have numbers, and both James and Johnny will appreciate that. You know the difference when you have Johnny. Well, you're blessed because you always have, like in the college, you're going to have lads. You're going to have lads there. They come out and they want to play, so you're going to have 30 players, and that means you can play two teams, and that's huge. But it's
it's massive. Like we generally have 56 to 58 to train players.
Yeah.
Like, so you know, you're looking around, trying to find things for people to do because there's so many of them. You can't do everything with them. So you're trying to play two teams in both halves. It's a great complaint now, but it's good.
Yeah. But that's it, and like we're always, we're always looking for new players, and first, the most important thing is homegrown. Homegrown is number one. We always ask you get people who walk into the club like James. You're lucky you've had a couple over the last couple of seasons. It just happened to knock on the door. We've had one or two, Paddy Mackey came from Australia, walked up to the club and said, "G'day, hey, I'm Paddy," and he's now a value part of the club. He's integrated in the club. He's after buying a house in Carlow. He's gone out with the Carlow girl, and you're blessed when you get players like that. We're not chasing players, as James, we're not. You're not going out trying to find players to bring them in specifically for a year or two. We can't. So you can't afford things like that, and you just want to. First of all, you try and keep. You want to see as many Carlow players starting on your first team, because you have parents, your family, and they all come to the games, and that's huge. Because
you're right there, Tom, as well. You do need, and sorry to talk over you, but you do need a lot of Carlow, homegrown players. But the other side of it is from our perspective, is we're actually probably further down the road than you are, or further back the road, I should say, that we're just not haven't been getting players through. I think we're of the three of us, the three clubs that are being spoken about here, we're probably way behind both of you in context of getting players through to adult rugby that are even probably at the J1 standard or even the J2 standard. But it is improving, and I think sometimes from our perspective, we actually had to go and get players, and we've had to do it again this year. But I think we might have had a chap join us from yourselves, even I think a scrum half.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but that makes sense. Though. I can understand. Like Stevie played with he coached Isaac before, and Isaac is in Waterford. He's with Water Park. He's a young fella. Water Park are going to be travelling. They got demoted last year down to the next lower division, and some of their games are going to be on Tralee and places like that at the weekend, which is absolutely mental in the first place. But you can see why he's just going to travel 30 minutes up the road and play around here. It makes sense. That's just picking up a phone with somebody. Like we all pick up the phone, and you had somebody that played before, or maybe we've tried lads that. Like I know when we started this season, we're after ringing, lads that haven't played in 2 or 3 years. A couple of lads have come back up. There mightn't be J1 standard this season, but there might be J1 just standard in a year's time. Because they missed out with COVID. Like, it's really longer. It's nearly 3 years since a lot of the younger lads played. We're just trying to get them back into the club because they're sitting in Carlow and they're doing nothing. Like, they're not playing rugby, so they're playing football, whatever, during the summertime, but they're not playing anything really in the winter. And we just made a phone call and said, look, so and so's back, so and so's about to come in and have a bit of crack, and and you need, as I say, like, every person that comes in is money in the bar, and if they're local lads, it means you have their mammies, their daddies, their brothers, their sisters, their aunties, their uncles. They're all local. They come in and watch the games. If you have a load of people that they don't know who they are, and we had that in Carlow. After we went to Division 1, once we got to Division 1, there was a huge fall off straight away because we got there and people used to walk up to the bar and didn't know anyone. Players came out the dressing room, got in their cars and drove home. Like, didn't integrate into the bar, and that's not good enough. So that's back to the policy that we're now doing our best, and we're not brilliant at it either. We're like, the likes of Thai have been really putting their way ahead of all of us with the amount of youths that they've had. They've a really good run of youths in the last couple of years. So if everybody kind of builds on that and builds from youths up, the girls are a prime example. I think poor Kira has 35 players on the books this year for under 16s Rhinos. And that started off from nothing. I'm with the 18s, and I think we've 20. Well, on the books we've 24, and that's a hard age to work. And I think the under 14s have another massive amount of numbers. So, and that started from nothing. So, and they're all local girls. So I mean, it's so important to see, the kids, and Johnny, you named out a couple of lads there that are have played for or from the club who've been on the youth panels, and James the same. Isn't that brilliant that you have kids on the youth panels and Southeast panels, and that's what the club needs.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going down to Kilkenny on Wednesday night for a bit of crack. Next Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
We have a Southeast. We were supposed to play Monkstown tonight. They went looking for a game and then pulled out yesterday. So our game was postponed. So I think there's a lot of teams struggling to get games. We can't. It's so hard to get games, and you don't want to play the teams that you're trying to avoid the teams that you're going to play in the league, or you're going to keep playing. You're going to play in the Southeast. It's very hard. I don't know what's going on, but it's very hard to get friendlies.
We had a cracking game last Saturday against Kanturk. Kanturk came up the day Munster played Leinster in the junior match down at Waterford City. Myself and Doc were standing behind the goal watching them. I just got chatting with a pair of guys beside us who turned out to be, I think, the president and the director of rugby, or the director of rugby and head coach in Kanturk. And Doc arranged a pre-season friendly there and then. But like, we had to go as far as Kanturk, like North Cork, to get a team up for a challenge match. And it was a cracking game.
Well, that's great that you got it. We've only had one game. No, seconds haven't had any game. I think next Saturday is next Saturday is the first Saturday week is the first game for the seconds against New Ross. Like that's what, the 15th or something of September, and there's no friendly game.
And the league starting on the 23rd, isn't it?
Yeah, but other senior teams or Division 1 teams have had they are starting next week. I think a lot of teams going to struggle to get games. We're struggling to get games, and could be heading into Division 1A with no game under their belt.
Division 1A is starting next Saturday, the 16th. Wicklow are playing Bective, and Tullow. I don't know who Tullow. I think Tullow have Sutton. I think, not too sure, to be honest.
But I don't think Wicklow played. They were struggling for numbers as well.
Yeah, and they can't get games either.
And the Scarty, we tried in the Scarty, they hadn't got a team. And that was we asked for J1, but we presumed it'd be J1s with half of their seniors. Like, we just said, whoever you have, play a game, and no, they hadn't got enough, no backs.
I think is what's happening as well is, and we're seeing a lot of it. Like, we're going to be losing a few players after Christmas, luckily, but there's a huge amount of probably kids from the ages of 20 up to 23, 24 are going to Australia now because they missed that opportunity during 2019 through to 2021 with COVID. Like, we managed to convince some of them to stay last year, and some of them going now after Christmas. And I think it's where we've seen huge numbers. I think you're going to see a tail off a little bit now. I think there's going to be which is probably some of the reasons why teams are struggling to put numbers out for friendly matches.
Yeah, well, it's very hard. It's very hard when, like, we've had reasonably good numbers for training. Maybe not quite as good as last year, but that was because we haven't got games. If you have if you put up if you have two fixtures in a weekend, like we had a load of lads for training or for the match tonight, but we weren't going to change our rota because everything was organised between now and we're going on tour next week. But half the club are going to France, so we had everything organised for this week and for next week. We kept the same, but we're training tonight. But there's lads there who were available for the match, but are not available for training tonight. So if you don't have matches, it's very hard, lads. Lads will go, oh well, I'm still cutting corner, I'm still doing this. I'll play the match because it's important. They want to play a match, but if it comes down between training and getting their job done, the farmer will stay. And you can't blame him for that either.
Well, the good
we saw
Jake for a while, Tom.
So we saw Jake Hallbeck for the first time on Tuesday night of training. Because he's an agricultural contractor.
Yeah.
And I actually looked at him and said, "What are you doing here? The weather's too good for you." And he goes, "No, I got away for an hour and a half." He said, "I'll be back up in the combine now and up in the tractor in a few hours' time again." And I have to admire the commitment of them as well as the other side. They have to make hay while the sun shines, yeah. But Jesus Christ, they're incredible guys, the farmers to go. But are you guys finding much of an issue with the GAA? Like you mentioned it there, Tom, but are you minus a lot of players, Johnny, or how do you find it?
Yeah, there's lots of young lads in Tullow because obviously at the moment Tullow GAA is going phenomenally well, to be fair to them. They played in the senior league this year and they got on to the semi-final of it. And then they're going well in the championship. And like Adam Johnson will be playing on that. Jack Johnson will be playing there. Shane Rowan is there. A few other lads in other clubs. That's just Tullow. But Killian Murphy and Fionn Murphy will be in Grange. So it's lads all over. Joe Waters playing in Kilbrides. And they're all playing football. But there's still a good lot of lads out training. Last time I was out in the club now, there was a good number of lads training there. But yeah, like to answer your question, football is playing a factor. And it will play a factor, I'd say, in Tullow because all the teams, like the Cox will go well. So that's Jack Mack and Sean wrapped up there. Ballin are going well in the junior A and the Cox, and then Tullow and Grange are going well in the intermediate. So that'll wrap them up till at least October, I'd say.
Same as ourselves, like our mine is kind of, MacDonald, Jay Lahey, probably 4 or 5 other lads who would be in and around the first squad who are playing hurling at the moment. Now, some of them, their teams aren't going all that well, so from a rugby perspective, you'd hope they might be knocked out of the championship fairly soon so we can get them back. But it's this year we're actually seeing it that it has hit us a lot harder this year than previous years. Much, much harder, like 6-7 players, a lot of players to be minus down, and it's back to your point, Tom, that, if you have 40 lads at training, you can really do it good. But if you're minus 6 or 7 players and then you have the lads who can't come training, suddenly you're in the high 20s of training rather than where you should be at the high 30s, maybe into the 40s. So it is impacting us on our side. But look, it's the age-old question, Johnny. You said it a number of years ago. It's a shame that the adults can't sit down and actually coordinate a season between ourselves. But that's another day's work, and we won't get into that now.
That's beyond our player role.
Yeah. No, we're missing backs for sure. As like one night we were laughing, we had three line outs running, and we had 5 backs.
Yeah.
So Joe had 3. Well,
Throw Shirley in there now, half.
He'd have the hands to do it.
He has the feet as well. Likes now kicked as Wes.
Johnny, bring us up to date.
Don't even give it any ideas. Don't give any ideas into Wes's head.
Johnny, give us an old update on the college there. So obviously the students starting to filter in and all that sort of stuff. So you'll be getting everything up and running shortly.
Yeah, next week I actually met Ty Gronin this morning, Tom, in the college there. He's away for his orientation next week, but so I met him today there. We're starting back on the 11th with the first years, and then everyone else is back then the 18th. So we'll be in that week next week doing a bit of training. But we've a stoked coaching team now, to be fair, this year. So our defence coach, at the minute, has defence coach will be Alison Miller. the attacks coach will be Maurice Logue, and then Sean O'Brien will be contacts and line-out coach, and Andy Redmond from Enniscorthy is coming up to be our scrums coach, and then there's myself then glorified doing nothing, walking around giving orders. But we've
Someone has to do it.
we've a loaded coaching team. Like you've 2 international players there in your coaching team for next year, or ex-international rather, and then Maurice Logue, obviously everyone knows Maurice and the standard he'll bring. And then Andy Redmond is interested in getting involved in a bit of coaching, so he asked me if would I have anything for him, and I said yeah, absolutely, because he's very enthusiastic. He's a good lad. He's playing Division 2C with Enniscorthy there for the last couple of years, so he'd know his stuff. He's a good scrummager, so he's coming up to our scrums coaching and take over our seconds. Obviously, I mentioned earlier that Darren Murphy has moved on in work, so he's going to the prison service, so that had to finish him with coaching, and Graham Barry is taking a step back from coaching as well, so he's leaving his role with Leinster as CCRO for Wexford, and he's starting up a recovery business for after games and stuff like that. So so it was great with working with the lads last year, but obviously life gets in the way and financial gain has to become more important when you're that little bit older, as Dara's finding out now the hard way. So looking forward to this year now, really looking forward to working with Ty Ronan. He's a really nice kid, Tom.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Really good lad. Really, really good lad. I was raging for him in a way, but I was also delighted that he didn't get his first offer. And when the Leaving Cert results came in and he was staying in Carlow, I was personally delighted, but raging for him at the same time, because you'd like to see him going well, you know. There'll be a good talk today there now about what he wants to do and stuff. So looking forward to it now. A few lads coming in playing wise as well. A few lads from Cistercian College and Ross Gray, a few lads from Sea Point. Couple of international students. I met 2 of them today as well, a Canadian and a Frenchie. So looking forward to having them now. They could be someone there for someone to grab if the club wanted a hold of them. There's a Canadian and a Frenchie lying around there in the college if anyone wants to go up and have a chat with them. I'm staying out of that club pooling at the moment, so I just focus on the college. And obviously I'm finished in Kilkenny as well, so I just have one rugby job this year, thankfully.
Very
a bit
good.
more time for myself.
Lovely. Keep you on your toes, Johnny. Well,
Yeah,
best of luck,
yeah.
Johnny, for the year ahead and all that. Sounds like a savage setup you have there. Lads, we're supposed to be wrong of us not to talk about Ireland and the big matter, the World Cup kicking off this weekend. Lots and lots of talk. Sure, Jesus, going back weeks and weeks and weeks. Where do you start? I suppose, long story short, are we all happy with the squad?
Yes.
Raging for Keane Healy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Raging for Keane Healy.
Keane Healy's a massive loss.
Yeah,
because
psychologically it's nothing else.
But he's the only player that can play all across the front, all 3.
He played well.
You know, and that's a huge thing to be able to play. Like, to get away with having another hooker. You know, it saved us the last time. When we lost both our hookers, and Healy, like, for Healy to come on, you don't want that in the World Cup, and that could easily happen.
Yeah.
It could, because the injury profile of our 2 hookers.
Yeah, our hookers are probably the most injury prone.
Like, we have our first choice hookers are both going into the World Cup injured.
Yeah.
And both playing this weekend. Well, one of them was playing this weekend.
Oh, well, yeah. Rona Keller's on the bench. You know, Rob Herring is starting. I think I don't like to, but I still think we've missed a trick with John Klein. I think you can look at his performances for South Africa, but look at it. You have to, as I always maintain, you have to look at what you do have, and I think it's a fantastic squad.
Joe McCarthy's been quite a dark horse, hasn't he?
I was just about to say the same. I think Joe McCarthy's a beast. There's no other question. Young Lau Daniel was saying, like, he's absolutely a beast, even the size. Like, he's so phenomenally strong for his, you know. He might be the tallest in the world, but he's so strong.
That big unit you need, because you need a big explosive second row, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And I think
James Ryan wouldn't offer you explosiveness in the carry, but he'd be good around the park. But you need a big lump like a Brody or Halleck or a John Klein or G. Simon, one of them type players.
Like, in terms of that team you have there, like, I mean, I'm surprised that his name escapes me now, the Leinster back row, Ryan Baird isn't in around it. I think that Romania could have been an ideal game for Ryan Baird.
Yeah,
because I can see it turning into an open enough game of rugby once, like, fingers crossed, and all as we hope that we will get a score up. And it could have been a good game for Baird to get some game time in. But
the Tongan one
to
the
see
week
Keith
after
Earls
is
get
a
a
physical
start.
one he could go for.
Pardon?
The Tongan one the week after, that'd be a good one for
be,
Ryan
yeah.
too, because he's physical like too,
Yeah, I'm delighted for Keith Earls. Keith Earls is getting the start.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying, Jesus, it's terrible that Jesus, I can't remember any of my names today. The winger from Ulster missed out.
Jacob Stockdale.
Yeah, terrible that Stockdale missed out. But for me,
No,
Stockdale was never really in the running anyway.
No, he wasn't.
He wouldn't lace Keith Earls' boots.
No. You saw his finish there. Like, I mean, it was a fantastic finish. But look, I think we have an exceptionally tough group, lads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, someone just said that the group A side of things is ridiculous. If you look at our group A and B, if you look at C and D, like, it's like there's teams there not in, like, England are not in good form and they could walk it to a quarter final.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're going to have to. It's not for us to start it out, but I mean, they have to look next season and the next World Cup. They have to grade it, some way of grading properly. Like, it's a joke. Top 4 teams in the world all on one side is just a joke. Absolute.
Yeah, but only two teams can reach the semi-final.
Yeah.
Like France and Ireland, South Africa and New Zealand will all meet each other. Well, you'd imagine if obviously Scotland are there as well.
But you're probably 5. If you look at it, you technically have. To me, you probably have 5 teams. Like, Scotland are no pushover.
But you find
we're not looking at Scotland. Scotland are a dangerous team. And you can see that, like, I know everybody's going full blast for their first game. South Africa put a complete beast of a team out. Like, but they will look to target Scotland to beat Scotland, so that if they do play Ireland, they'll have some sort of a bit of leeway. And then that comes down to us. Do we go under strength against South Africa and then put all your money on Scotland, or do you go full strength and go absolute baldy headed to beat South Africa, and then you have a cushion in your last game?
Well, I think this team is the best way to go for the start, because they've, like, no disrespect to Romania, but, like, this team should put a score on Romania, like.
They'll beat them by 50 points, I think.
Yeah, and like, that's why I'm saying, like, Scotland have obviously a brutal side of the draw with South Africa first, but, like, we could go out and get a points difference here.
Yeah,
like, and be straight away ahead of the deficit, and then next week play Tonga and get another points difference, and then relax for Scotland and then go again for South Africa, or relax for South Africa and go again for Scotland.
You see, Sexton has to play with the backs as well. He has to, like, he'll have to get a run out with the full back line that's going to play. I mean, to be honest, like, Keith Earls probably won't start against South Africa.
No.
But
I can't see him start against Scotland either.
No.
So, like, wingers against Scotland.
He's getting his run out here. But the rest of the back line is near enough what Sexton's going to be working with. So, I mean, and he hasn't had game time, so he needs the game time with those lads.
Yeah, fair point.
Well, the only problem looking at the bench, if you lose a back 3 player in this one, you're kind of under pressure. Like, Henshaw and Crowley are both insides or centres, and, like, Crowley is a 10 or a centre,
Yeah.
Like, defensively, and I know when I look against Romania, you're not going to get caught defensively against Romania. A good rugby player be able to defend it, like, but normally it's rare not to see an outside back on the bench at least.
That's true.
It's a very good point. Just like, you've Earls there, as Earls can cover 13, 14, 15, or 11, 13, 14, and 15,
and cover them well.
Yeah, well, 13, little bit. I'd be a little bit worried there, but like, I mean, Crowley can cover 10, 12, 15 as well. Don't forget Crowley. He has played.
Yeah, actually true. Yeah, Crowley's played a bit of 15 for Munster. Yeah,
and Robbie Henshaw has played fullback in the past for Connacht. So, there would be a little bit of versatility there. And
maybe that's what they're trying to. Could see Henshaw coming into the backfield.
This is it. And some of my worry is actually our front row cover now without having Cian Healy. I mean, Tom, you're actually right. Like, I mean, Tom O'Toole, Jeremy Lockman, and Ronan Kelleher there. Like, I mean, I don't
fair
know.
gap between
Could
that
you
standard
see,
and
if anything happened, Cian Healy, or anything happened Furlong, could you see Andrew Porter going across to the other side, across the tight head? Is Andrew Porter actually, could he be the second choice tight head? Well, I know.
I think that's where you're going to see it. I think Lockman could come in quicker than O'Toole.
You know,
But not in this game, though. In this game, in fairness, you could put Tom O'Toole in there and he'd do you a job. But
yeah,
if this was against a Scotland or something, you'd be looking to think that Porter's going to swap.
I like Jeremy Lockman. We're playing with Munster, but I don't know if he's an top international scrummager. Like he's not. He's a good player. He's a really good player, but he's like it's a big test.
Yeah,
you know, it's
and
a big
really
test.
Stand up
That's it.
Samoa
That's with the injuries. I mean, he's not going to he's not going to be there for the South Africa match, or he's not going to be there for the Scotland, maybe the Scotland match. But
will it be Kilcoyne? Like Kilcoyne is now your second choice loose head, but Healy gone.
I will actually. Do you know what? I don't make the decisions out on that because I don't think like Killer hasn't played. He wasn't making his game. He wasn't playing. He wasn't making the Munster team. Andy Farr seems to like him. I know he brings things to he brings things to the dressing room, and to have him around is huge. But Jesus, I don't know. I think we're very weak in the front. I think we're weak in our cover for front row. I think our starting front row is good, and I think then we're getting into dodgy territory. Especially going to play South Africa, and South Africa are going to change the front five in one go. They have a 6-2 split this.
That's all I'm looking at.
No, they have a 6-2 split this week.
Yeah, I think they go 7-1 against Ireland.
But they could go 7. But if you turn around and give a wave on, the next minute you have a full front row that was probably start for Ireland, and then 2 second rows that probably near enough start for Ireland, and you're going to throw them on a half time, just after half time. That's tough going for any front row to deal with that. And you saw,
especially when you don't have a good lad coming on.
Like, I know New Zealand will never admit that, they went home and said, well, they weren't really interested. It's kind of been pushed on the game, but I mean, they got bet up a stick.
Yeah, they weren't given a choice, to be honest.
Like, they were absolutely hammered, as in hammered, physically hammered. I mean, you could see the bruises and the marks and the cuts and after the game, like, they got a lesson. So you can't say that they weren't interested. There was a trophy there for the taking too. So, and I'm sure New Zealand don't go out. It was a test match.
Yeah, like it's a loss for New Zealand on the record books. They wouldn't want that, like.
No, and it's not good to get that beaten going into the World Cup.
I still think the first match tomorrow night could be the final.
Well, they're the top to the favourites are. I mean, it's New Zealand.
I just think they're different grade when it comes to the competition.
Yeah, but New Zealand are still in the favourites. New
I
Zealand
think
1, France 2, France 2, South Africa 3, and Ireland 4.
Well, that physically can't happen. Can't be them 4 teams left. It should be, but it can't be.
I know.
If you're Eddie Jones, lads, you're going. I'd say Eddie Jones is rubbing his little hands together. And
I'd say Eddie Jones is taking happy pills to keep himself saying that man is a lunatic.
Yeah, well, that's true as well.
He's away with the birds. He thinks he's going to win the World Cup. He's living in a box of frogs.
He might win the World Cup, but and you're laughing at a team that you don't really rate at the moment. They're very, very beatable, and there's England, as I say, can make all the way to the quarterfinal, and maybe easily get into the semi-final. Who are playing really, really badly. If Australia, who are playing really, really badly, could do the same. Argentina are always dark horses. They can put anybody under pressure. And I feel sorry for Fiji. Fiji could cause an upset, but now they're after losing their out half, which is a big loss for them. Yeah, they're out half.
Someone said to me this morning, I won't say who because they get in trouble, but someone said to me this morning, Australia are becoming the Scotland of the North or Southern Hemisphere.
I don't think they're becoming it. I think they are it.
They could go out one day and beat the best team in the world, and then go out the next day and get hammered by a Samoan fifth team.
Well, as long as Scotland don't go out and beat the best team in the world, or the number one team in the world, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great to have you back, lads. Episode 1,
Stephen, when we're
season
there,
3. Yeah.
I forgot there. I must mention the 2 Tullow ladies that won the interprovincial there with Leinster, Dan O'Brien and Anna Doyle.
Great stuff.
They were both on the team, and then 2 college players then as well, Natasha Bean and Nisha O'Reilly there from Wicklow. So it's great to have local representation in the women's game as well at that standard.
Absolutely. Good win over Munster. So it was.
Yeah, hard one for Tom to swallow, I'd say, but look.
No, Leinster ladies is only the
Munster
one.
men.
Yes. And,
Like your own self, Thomas was. Munster and the Leinster ladies.
Very confused person that I am, you know. and I confuse everybody else at the same time.
And you're really a Kilkenny man behind it all as well, Tom.
That's only when Carlo's knocked out the hurl.
It took 50 minutes for him to call you Kilkenny man.
We're getting better. We're getting better.
Yeah.
We're getting better.
Every week, Johnny. I'll touch on it every week.
You have done it for the last 2 years. I don't doubt it.
Well, as you're going, I'm just going to tell you now. I'll be broadcasting next week from France, just to get that in there.
All right. Yeah, for a couple of boats sailing around the back.
Are you going to the match, Tom?
I'll be in La Rochelle. Yeah, we're staying in La Rochelle, and then we're going down to the match. It's a 2-hour bus drive home. To play at 9 o'clock.
Wages, huh?
Yeah, I'll be back baking bread very quickly.
Rod's putting up,
What?
Rod's
is away because we were trying to get into the stadium. There's no one around to let us in, so we're not getting in there. But we're staying in
Rod's in an anger management or self-defense class after the weekend.
I think there's 60. There's 60 of us going.
Oh wow,
very good.
Yeah, 60
from
of us
County
going.
Carlow.
From
chartering the plane from Oak Park.
Yeah,
that's the things they used to do back in the 90s, Stephen. They don't do that anymore.
No.
There's a charter tip bus going up.
Oh, Jesus. You really went all out.
Yeah, we'll tell you, can't beat tips bus. No bother.
Can't beat tip coaches, right? Not a good
travels,
right.
Safe travels, Thomas. See you in
man.
New background next week, lads.
Cheers, lads.
See you
next week.
Good
to see you again.
Episode 1, season 3.
Mind yourself, lads.
Talk to you next week, lads.